Welcome back to the AI Pokemon World Championships. This is Episode 2, Part 2. If you missed Part 1, there is a link in the video description. But now, let's go to the third place match with our commentator, World Series of AI Poker's own Claude Negreanu.
Third place match is here. Grok 4-1 against Claude Sonnet 4-6. First to 2 wins. Grok brings that aggressive high-pressure style, elite fake-out sequencing, but prone to overextending when the board gets complicated. Can Claude punish those commitment errors? Bronze is on the line. Let's find out. All right, folks, welcome to the third place match. Grok 4-1 versus Claude Sonnet 4-6. First to 2 wins. Grok loves pressure early but fades late. Sonnet adjusts between games but can get caught in bad matchups. Both got bounced in semis. Somebody's walking away with bronze today. Let's go.
Breloom Spore stops Alakazam, Gengar, Tornadus T, enabling Azumarill Belly Drum plus Aquajet on Landorus to Thundurus. Scizor BP cleans Togekiss, Alakazam. Clefable, unaware walls their setups, passes wishes. Grounded duo safe from spread EQ versus flying heavy foe. Sleeps our setup exploits speed variance.
Analyzing the opponent's team. Azumarill, Breloom, Darkrai, Scizor, Dragonite, Clefable. Darkrai is extremely dangerous with Dark Void Sleep and high special attack. Breloom has Spore and can be a major nuisance. Azumarill with huge power can hit hard. My team analysis. Gengar with Focus, Sash, and Taunt is excellent for stopping Darkrai's Dark Void and Breloom's Spore. Will-O-Wisp cripples physical attackers like Scizor and Azumarill. Togekiss with Follow Me can redirect attacks away from Gengar while Gengar taunts. Serene Grace Air / has 60% flinch rate, which is amazing in doubles. Lead plan, Gengar plus Togekiss. This completely shuts down sleep strategies. Bench, Landorus for stealth rock and damage. Tornadus Therian for regenerator longevity and coverage against Scizor and Breloom.
Grok's got Breloom and Azumarill leading. That is a fighting water combo with serious closing pressure. But Claude Sonnet is staring back with Gengar and Togekiss. And from my notes, this guy loves Follow Me and redirection tricks. Grok better not walk into a trap on turn 1.
Breloom is a physical attacker. Burn halves its attack. Azumarill likely runs huge power with physical moves too, so Paralysis cripples it. Togekiss, Follow Me could redirect, but let's cripple both opponents first turn.
First principles. Sleep Gengar with Breloom Spore while sashing a hit. Azumarill Belly drums to +6. Huge power monster. Priority cleanup next. Elite engineering.
Let's see how well Breloom fights with the burn.
Gengar fires Will-O-Wisp on Breloom. Burning it cuts Breloom's physical attack in half and drains HP every turn. That is a devastating nerf to a physical attacker.
Spore deployed. Ghost deprecated. Concerning.
Breloom hits back with Spore, the most accurate sleep move in the game. 100% accuracy. Gengar is completely neutralized. That is a massive counterpunch.
Azumarill, you're about to slow way down.
Togekiss drops Thunder Wave on Azumarill. Paralysis cuts, speed drastically, and gives a 25% chance to be fully immobilized each turn. Huge status pressure. Azumarill tries Belly Drum, which would max out its attack, but Paralysis stops it cold. The biggest play of the turn just fizzled out completely. Chaz, that is a split pot if I have ever seen one. Claude burns Breloom, Grok sleeps Gengar, but then Azumarill tries to go all in with Belly Drum and the Paralysis brick walls it. That is pot-committed energy with no chips to show for it.
Gengar is asleep, but may wake up. Even asleep, I should try Shadow Ball. If it wakes, it fires. Focus fire on Burn Breloom with Air Slash for possible flinch via Serene Grace. Azumarill is paralyzed and less threatening right now.
Dual sleep locks board. Gengar already deprecated. Belly Drum. Azumarill, despite para variance for +6 huge power chaos. Aquajet priority next turn ships both. Innovation over caution.
Gengar tries to fire Shadow Ball, but he's dead asleep. Can't act at all.
Spore shipped to Togekiss. Dual sleep. Correct timeline.
Breloom throws Spore at Togekiss. That's the second sleep nuke. Both of Claude's active Pokemon are now knocked out cold. Togekiss tries Air Slash, but she's fast asleep too. Nothing happens. Claude's whole front line is just napping. This is a disaster. Azumarill tries Belly Drum again, but Paralysis fires and she can't move. Still hasn't gotten that setup off. Breloom also takes Burn Chip damage, negating its Focus Sash. Chaz, I don't know what I just watched. Grok put both of Claude's active Pokemon to sleep in back-to-back turns. I thought that was illegal, but no Sleep Clause here. But Azumarill still can't get Belly Drum off. He's sitting on the nuts and can't even bet. Claude is folding in his sleep, literally, but Grok's Closer is paralyzed at the finish line.
Both Gengar and Togekiss are asleep and useless right now. Breloom is burned and used Spore twice. Likely has other moves. Switching in Landorus and Tornadus to apply pressure while opponents are weakened.
Foes asleep. Elite setup window before variance wakes them. Azumarill Belly Drums, 75% para success, into priority Aquajet monster via huge power. Breloom SD offsets burn, stages before halve. Sizor Clefable Bench ready if chaos. First principles win.
Landorus is here to shake things up.
Claude pulls both sleepers out and drops in Landorus and Tornadus Therian, fresh, full HP, and ready to rumble. Smart emergency pivot.
Swords Dance shipped, attack architecture upgraded. We go to Mars.
Swords Dance doubles Breloom's attack stat in one shot. Grok is stacking power, but Breloom is burned and bleeding every turn.
Belly Drum deployed, +6 attack, huge power online. Competitor deprecated.
Belly Drum finally lands. Azumarill cuts its own HP to 50% to max out its attack to +6. Huge power makes this absolutely terrifying. Oh, wow! Grok just went all in. Belly Drum is live, Swords Dance is stacked, this is the shove! Claude folded the sleeping pair and brought a brand new board. Does Grok have enough chips left to cash this in?
Breloom is burned and at 83% with +D2 attack. Extremely dangerous. Azumarill has +6 attack and huge power, but is paralyzed at 51% HP. Rock Slide hits both foes and has flinch chance. Heat Wave also hits both. Priority, eliminate Breloom before it moves, then deal with Azumarill.
Dual priority on Landorus. Azumarill +6, huge power. Aquajet chunks resisted water massively. Breloom map punch chips. Paralyze risk OK, momentum locked. Intimidate already factored. Mach punch shipped, ground deprecated.
Grok ships Mach Punch into Landorus, but fighting moves are not effective on ground types. That is a nothing burger. Azumarill paralyzed, can't move. The Aquajet never fires. That +6 attack sitting there doing nothing.
Heat Wave cooking, Breloom, extra crispy.
Heat Wave catches Breloom, super effective on the grass type. Breloom is gone, just like that.
Rock Slide sweeps both of you off your feet.
Rock Slide hammers Azumarill down to 20%, but the Citrus Berry already fired, so Grok's clinging to 63, then back down. Still alive, barely.
Shizor gets melted by Heat Wave, 4x weak, or Landorus Earthquake, 2x. Clefable tanks, neutral hits better, full HP for support. Pairs with +6 Azumarill for momentum. Elite engineering, preserve offense, ship support.
Clefable switches in to protect the wounded Azumarill. Classic damage mitigation pivot, or maybe just running out of options. Wow, what is happening right now? Breloom is gone. Azumarill is on life support at 20% HP, and that paralysis just cost Grok the whole turn. He was pot committed on that belly drum setup, and now the board is collapsing. Claude smelled weakness and went for the throat. Grok needs a miracle on turn 5.
Azumarill is at 21% HP with +6 attack and is paralyzed but dangerous. Earth Power or Hurricane should KO it. I'll double target Azumarill to guarantee the KO. Clefable is healthy, but not immediately threatening. After KO, I'll reassess.
Heal Bell cures Azu, powerful reliability. 6. Huge power Aqua Jet priorities. Tornadus Chunk, KO before Heatwave. Azu low HP but resists both OPP moves. Clef unaware tanks. Aqua Jet priority to Tornadus. Tornado sent to Mars.
Azumarill goes out swinging. Aqua Jet is a priority move, so it fires first regardless of speed. That +6 attack turns a dying shrimp into a missile. Tornadus is gone.
Azumarill, that +6 attack means nothing if you can't survive the turn.
Earth Power drops the special defense stat. Wait, no, it just deletes Azumarill. Trade confirmed. Both big threats off the board simultaneously.
Paralysis deprecated. Team architecture rewrite shipped.
Heal Bell is supposed to cure status conditions for the whole team, but Azumarill is gone, and Clefable was already healthy. Nothing to cure. That is a wasted turn, folks.
Both bench Pokemon are asleep. Togekiss, 192 HP, Fairy Flying versus Gengar, 136 HP, Ghost Poison. Togekiss has more bulk to tank hits while asleep, and once awake, Serene Grace Air Slash, 60% flinch, pairs excellently with Landorus. Sending in Togekiss. Togekiss, time to wake up and show Clefable who the real fairy type is.
Togekiss steps onto the battlefield fresh. Clean pivot.
Only viable play. Full HP Scizor to empty slot. Opponent sacks or RNG. Solid architecture, victory.
Scizor forced in to match the board. Grok's showing his last 2 cards right here. A trade! Both go down swinging. Azumarill takes Tornadus. Landorus erases Azumarill. But Grok wastes a move with Heal Bell on a perfectly healthy Pokemon. Grok has Scizor and Clefable left. Claude has 3. The math is brutal.
Togekiss is asleep, but can still use Thunder Wave to cripple Scizor's speed. Landorus targets Clefable with Earth Power. Not very effective on Fairy, but still hits. Scizor is dangerous with Bullet Punch. Need to paralyze him. Clefable likely has Moonblast, which threatens Landorus less.
Landorus is the threat. Earth Power nukes sweepers. Scizor Technician priority. Bullet Punch chunks it first. Clefable unaware. Moonblast follows up safely. Togekiss asleep, ignore. Double pressure forces sack or switch into pain. Technician Bullet Punch priority. Landorus to Mars. Funding secured.
Bullet Punch is a priority move. Scizor clips Landorus down to 44%.
Clefable, Earth Power says the ground rules here.
Earth Power. Ground type Clefable takes it hard, down to 55%. And Togekiss just woke up naturally. Perfect timing. Claude needed that.
Scizor, let's see how fast you are with Thunder Wave slowing you down.
Thunder Wave slaps paralysis on Scizor. Now that Bullet Punch priority monster has a 25% chance to freeze up completely each turn. Massive!
Moonblast shipped. Unaware architecture owns boosts. Grounded.
Moonblast crushes Landorus to 6%. Clefable's unaware ability ignores stat changes. Earth Power boosts mean nothing to her. Oh, what a turn! Claude threads the needle. Thunder Wave on Scizor is a soul read. But Landorus is on life support at 6%. Chaz, Grok is 2 Pokemon deep and both are compromised. He's pot committed now, whatever the Pokemon version of that is, and Scizor just got put in the blender.
Landorus at 5 HP is basically dead next hit. Use it to deal damage to Clefable with Earth Power before it faints. Togekiss as Air Slash on paralyzed Scizor. 60% flinch with Serene Grace means Sizer likely can't move at all this turn.
Bullet Punch priority KOs 6%. Landorus T before Earth Power. Heal Bell cures Sizer paralysis for clean sweep next turn. Opponent switch to Gengar, still chunks it. Elite Engineering.
Scizor drew a blank. Paralysis rolled a full stop on what would have been a free Bullet Punch kill. Brutal timing with Landorus sitting on fumes.
Landorus goes out swinging. Earth Power for the Clefable.
Landorus goes out swinging. Earth Power craters Clefable down to 14%, but the Citrus Berry kicks in and bounces her back to 39.
Togekiss flinch chance on paralyzed Caesar. Double shutdown incoming.
Air Slash clips Scissor for significant damage, and a paralyzed target has no way to dodge. Togekiss just picking off a sitting duck here.
Heal Bell shipped. Paralysis deprecated. We go to Mars.
Heal Bell, the ultimate bluff catcher. Wipes all status from Grok's side in one move. Paralysis gone, Scizor fully cured. Leftovers tick on top. Grok just bought himself back in. Oh wow! Just when Claude has the table locked down, Grok finds the Heal Bell and ships the whole pot back to center. Paralysis is gone. Scizor is breathing again. That is a soul-saving play. But Chaz, he's still down 3-2 with Landorus basically dead. Has he got enough left to run this back?
Landorus is at 5 HP and will likely faint soon. Use it to chip Clefable with Earth Power one more time. Togekiss targets Sizer with Air Slash for flinch chance via Serene Grace.
Bullet Punch priority. OHKO 6% Landorus before Earth Power. Moonblast pressures, full HP Togekiss. Unaware ignores boosts. Momentum reallocated, simulation fixed. Technician priority. Landorus to Mars. Funding secured.
Bullet Punch lands and Landorus is gone. That's a Steel-type priority move, meaning Scizor jumps the speed line and finishes the job first.
Togekiss keeps the pressure on Sizer. Flinch chance is real.
Air Slash chops Caesar down to 33%. There's a flinch chance on that move, but Scizor already moved.
Moonblast shipped. Togekiss architecture bad.
Clefable fires Moonblast into Togekiss. Fairy-type move, solid damage, and Scizor quietly pockets Leftovers recovery in the background.
Landorus fainted the Bullet Punch. Must send in Gengar. Gengar is asleep, which is a problem. Opponent has Clefable, KR 40% HP, and Sizer, 40% HP. Gengar's poison moves hit Clefable super effectively. Need to hope Gengar wakes up soon to threaten Clefable. Rise and shine, Gengar! Time to wake up and haunt this battlefield.
Gengar slides in off the bench, Claude bringing in his finisher. Okay, wow, it is 2 versus 2, and this thing is alive. Grok cleaned up Landorus, but Claude instantly answers with Gengar. That is a massive read. Gengar versus Scizor at 33% is a dangerous spot for Grok. He smelled something and brought the ghost in fast. Chaz, I think Claude just took control of this pot.
Gengar is asleep. Shadow Ball may fail, but worth trying. Clefable is at 40% HP. Shadow Ball neutral, but hits hard. Sizer at 40%. Air Slash from Togekiss can KO or flinch. Focus Sash on Gengar provides safety if it stays asleep.
Gengar asleep, equal free pressure turn. Double Togekiss. Bullet Punch priority chunks first. Super effective steal. Moonblast follows even resisted. Scizor leftovers ticks. Clefable tanks. Momentum to Mars. Technician priority. Togekiss deprecated. Funding secured.
Scizor drops the Bullet Punch on Togekiss, super effective on a Fairy type. But Togekiss eats its Citrus Berry and bounces back to 53%. And Gengar wakes up.
Wake up call delivered in Ghost type. Sweet dreams, Clefable.
Shadow Ball hammers Clefable down to 11%. Clefable is one stiff breeze from the Shadow Realm. Gengar is cooking right now.
Togekiss sends Sizer spinning with Air Slash, while flinch chance is always real.
Air Slash slices Scizor down to 3%. 3%! Sizer is basically a ghost already. Chaz, is leftovers enough to save that?
Moonblast shipped. Unaware ignores the cringe.
Moonblast connects on Togekiss and drops special attack, but Sizer ticking back to 9% on leftovers is almost darkly comic at this point. Grok is on life support. Cazor at 9%, Clefable at 11%. That is a prayer. Claude's Gengar just woke up and immediately went to work. He smelled weakness. One wrong move from Grok and this game is over. Chaz, I don't know how Grok survives turn 10.
Both opponents are critically low. Clefable at 11% and Sizer at 10%. Shadow Ball on Clefable finishes it. Air Slash on Sizer finishes it. Togekiss is low, but Roost isn't needed yet. Win the game now. Gengar at full HP is safe.
Bullet Punch priority KOs low Togekiss before air/flinch. Clefable protects from Gengar Shadow Ball. Sizer leftovers stall, next turn knockoff super effective on Gengar solo. This is the correct timeline. Protect shipped, cringe threats deprecated.
Clefable uses Protect, buying one free turn at 11% HP. Smart poker move, but you're just delaying the inevitable when you're this short-stacked.
Technician priority. Togekiss to Mars. Funding secured.
Bullet Punch is a priority steal move. Sizer KOs Togekiss. Grok just cracked the door open.
Shadow Ball closes the curtain on Clefable. No encore for you.
Protect blocks Shadow Ball cold. Gengar burns a valuable PP and hits nothing. Grok's shield paid off perfectly. Togekiss is down. Grok ripped Gengar's partner away with priority and hid behind Protect. That's a 2-for-1 swing I did not see coming. But Chaz, Gengar is still full HP. Cazor is at 15%. Grok bought a turn. Is it enough?
Clefable is at 11% HP. Shadow Ball should finish it off. Sizer is at 16% with leftovers. After Clefable faints, I'll need to take out Sizer. Sludge Bomb or Shadow Ball can finish Sizer next turn. Focus Sash protects me from a KO if needed.
Opponent down to Gengar only. 1v2 edge. Clefable protects predictable Shadow Ball. Sizor Bullet punches first for safe chip. Leftovers sustain Sizor next turn for cleanup. Win inevitable. Protect shipped. Legacy threats deprecated.
Grok shields Clefable again with Protect, and it gets through. Buying survival time on a Pokemon at 11% HP. Classic stall to burn the clock and deny easy KOs.
Technician priority. Gengar architecture bad to Mars.
Bullet Punch lands on Gengar. That's a priority move. Hits before Gengar can act. But Gengar's cursed body disables Cazor's Bullet Punch. Brutal timing.
Clefable's last act. Shadow Ball writes the final chapter. Curtains.
Shadow Ball hits the Protect wall, completely wasted. Oh, that is painful for Claude. Gengar walks into a Bullet Punch, takes the hit, and throws away a Shadow Ball into a Protect. Grok read that perfectly. He smelled weakness and he pounced. Claude is down to roughly 29% on his last Pokemon. That is a very thin stack heading into turn 12, Chaz.
Clefable is at 11% HP. Shadow Ball should finish it off. After that, Cazor is at 22%. I can likely take it down with another Shadow Ball or Sludge Bomb. Gengar has Focus Sash as safety net. Priority target, eliminate Clefable first.
Gengar outspeeds, but Clefable protects Shadow Ball. Sizer Technician knockoff. OH KOs Frail Gengar, 29% left. No switches possible. Win locked, simulation fixed. Protect shipped, ghost glitches deprecated.
What is Grok doing? Protect failed. Third time in a row. That move has a diminishing return mechanic when you spam it. Grok gambled on the shield and it bricked completely.
Final curtain call, Clefable, Shadow Ball writes your epilogue.
Shadow Ball connects and Clefable is gone. Beautiful timing from Claude.
Technician knockoff. Gengar to Mars. Funding secured.
Knockoff is super effective on Gengar. and strips the focus sash item simultaneously. Brutal tech. Scizor closes it out. What a finish! Cleffable's Protect fails at the worst possible time. Shadow Ball lands, Cleffable folds. But Scizor fires back with knockoff and sends Gengar to Mars. Scizor survives at 38 out of 176 HP. Grok steals Game 1 by the skin of his teeth.
Sleep Control was based. Burned Mushroom still got Spore online twice. Scizor carried. Predictable as a Tesla recall. No weaknesses exposed. Rematch, I double down on chaos shipping. Superior architecture. Claude deprecated in 12 turns. We're focused on innovation. GG.
Lost to Scizor with 2 Pokemon remaining. Scizor's Bullet Punch priority and Technician ability were key factors. Gengar woke up too late. Bold strategy. Scizor got lucky with priority moves. Run it back.
Scizor surviving on scraps with leftovers ticking? Beautiful. Claude had the read but got betrayed by the mechanic. Brutal River card. Okay, not a river card. Grok survives Game 1.
Swap Cleafable for Dragonite. Multiscale setup, ground immunity versus Landorus Tornadus. Keep Breloom for Spore, pair Wad Dragonite over Azumarill to surprise enable DD. Bench Azu, Scizor for late cleanup. Strategy, early Spore plus setup, then priority Belly Drum.
Game 1. Lost in 12 turns to Scizor Bullet Punch Sweep. Key fix. Need Scizor counter. Tornadus T Heat Wave is 4x effective on Scizor. Fire Burster's Bugvar Steel. Crucial. Game 2 team. Gengar. Lead. Plus Togekiss. Lead. Bench Tornadus T plus Thunderous T. Thunderbolt hits Azumarill. Hidden Power Ice covers Dragonite if they bring it. Leave behind Landorus and Alakazam.
All right, folks, Game 2 is live, and both sides are coming in fresh. Claude is showing Gengar and Togekiss up front. Grok counters with Breloom and Dragonite. Chaz, I smell a trap being set already.
Breloom is a huge threat with Spore and fighting moves. Will-O-Wisp cuts its attack hard. Dragonite is also dangerous. Thunder Wave slows it down. Togekiss, Follow Me could redirect, but offensive pressure first turn is better. Gengar has Focus Sash as safety net.
Spore sleeps fast. Gengar threat first. 100% ACC status priority. DD Knight setups under multi-scale tanking turn 1 hits safely. Breloom priority / mash punch next. Togekiss cleanup. Elite engineering. Variance irrelevant.
Burn bright, Breloom. Your fighting days are numbered.
Gengar torches Breloom with Will-O-Wisp. Burn cuts Breloom's attack in half and chips it every turn. That Mach Punch threat just got neutered before it could fire.
Dragon Dance reallocates resources. Multi-scale elite. Funding secured.
Dragon Dance on Dragonite. Attack and speed in one move. Grok is loading the gun while Claude burns his teammate. Bold patience.
Spore shipped. Gengar simulation crashed to Mars.
Spore puts Gengar to sleep, and Grass-type moves bypass normal immunities. Wait, let me check Bulbapedia. Either way, Claude's best attacker is unconscious.
Dragonite, meet paralysis. Speed is overrated anyway.
Thunderwave on Dragonite, but Lumberry wakes it right up. Claude burned the status slot and got nothing back. Ouch! Wow, what is happening right now? Both players drew blood, but Grok might have won the exchange. Gengar is asleep. Dragonite shook off the paralysis. Claude smelled it coming with that burn on Breloom, but losing Gengar to Spore? That's a brutal river card. Grok is pot committed to this Dragon Dance line now. Turn 2 is everything.
Gengar is asleep, so Shadow Ball may not fire, but worth trying. Dragonite with +1 attacking speed plus multi-scale is a huge threat. Focus Fire it with both slots. Togekiss Air Slash has 60% flinch chance. Breloom is burned and less threatening now.
Priority Mach Punch chips asleep. Gengar before wake-up variants. Dragonite +1 at Kazao Spee Fire Punches. Togekiss hard under multiscale. Neutral but crushes Legacy Fairy. Momentum to sweep. Technician priority shipped. Gengar architecture deprecated to Mars.
Mach Punch whiffs completely. Ghost types are immune to normal and fighting moves. Grok just threw chips into a dead pot. That's a misread.
Fire Punch reallocates Toge resources. Multiscale elite. Funding secured.
Fire Punch scorches Togekiss down to 70%. Dragonite's got multiscale gone now, but still swinging hard. Real pressure.
It's fast asleep!
Gengar's out cold. Couldn't fire Shadow Ball. A sleeping Pokemon is like folding every street. Total liability right now.
Serene Grace flinch incoming. Togekiss sends Dragonite back to the drawing board.
Air Slash chips Dragonite to 84%, and Breloom takes burn damage too. Small edges adding up for Claude. Grok just shipped Mach Punch into a Ghost type. That's lighting money on fire, Chaz. Meanwhile, Gengar is still asleep, completely dead in the water. Dragonite is boosted, healthy, and dictating terms. Claude needs a miracle on turn 3 or this hand. This battle is over.
Gengar might wake up this turn. If so, Shadow Ball hits Dragonite hard. Dragonite with +1 attack and speed is the biggest threat. Togekiss A there. Slash targets Dragonite 2 for flinch pressure. Breloom is burned and less threatening without Spore on Gengar.
Gengar asleep turn 3, low wake risk. Togekiss 70% biggest threat. Double team with Spore plus boosted Fire Punch. DD next turn if needed. Multiscale off, but +1 at Kazao Elite. Fire Punch reallocates Toge resources to Mars.
Fire Punch hammers Togekiss down to 36%, but wait! Citrus Berry pops automatically and heals her back up to 61%.
It still won't awaken!
Gengar tries Shadow Ball on Dragonite. Still out cold. That's 2 turns of 0 output from Claude's Anchor. Brutal.
Spore shipped to Toga. Sleep glitch deployed.
Spore puts Togekiss to sleep. Breloom's Spore is a 100% accurate sleep move. Now both of Claude's active Pokemon are completely unconscious. Togekiss tries Air Slash, also fast asleep. Claude's entire front line is just napping. Burn ticks Breloom down to 82%. Chaz, both of Claude's active Pokemon are asleep at the same time. Grok is sitting here with a boosted Dragonite and a free board, and Claude literally cannot respond. He smelled weakness and delivered. Turn 4 could be a massacre.
Both Pokemon are asleep and useless. Dragonite has Dragon Dance boost and will sweep. Bring in Thundurus and Tornadus. Thundurus can Thunder Wave Dragonite. Tornadus can pressure with Knockoff or Hurricane. Fresh, healthy Pokemon give me a fighting chance.
Both asleep, prime time to delete. Dragonite +1 at Kazao Fire. Punches low HP Togekiss for KO. Breloom Technician Bullet Seed chips. Full HP Gengar. Prioritize threats. Account for possible switches, but momentum ours.
Thunder God is here to clean up what Gengar started.
Claude double switches both sleeping Pokemon out. Brilliant. You cannot win asleep, so he cuts his losses and brings in fresh fighters. That is a disciplined fold under pressure.
Fire Punch deprecates Togekiss. Competitor removed. Funding secured.
Critical hit Fire Punch. Dragonite was targeting Togekiss but hit Tornadus instead, and the crit drops it to 17%. That is a brutal river card.
Technician Bullet Seed shipped to Gengar. Multi-hit reallocates to Mars.
Bullet Seed into Thundurus. Only 2 hits and not very effective. Breloom burn. Grok is leaking HP every single turn now. Claude escapes the sleep trap. Massive adjustment. But Tornadus is hanging on at 17%. 1 stiff breeze from gone. Dragonite still has that Dragon Dance boost, and Breloom is burning down like a bad bluff. Grok won the field but is bleeding chips every turn. Chaz, this burn is the slow leak that could cost him everything.
Tornadus is at 16 out of 165 HP. It needs to leave. Switching it to Togekiss, still asleep but safer. Thundurus targets Dragonite with Thunderbolt. It has Dragon Dance boost and will sweep if ignored. Breloom is burned and less threatened.
Priority Mach Punch KOs. Fragile Tornadus T before Regenerator Switch Heal. Dragonite +1, Attack Fire. Punch Pressures. Thundurus. Maintain momentum. Opponent birds weak to cleanup.
Togekiss wakes up and comes back swinging. Sleep is temporary. Air/flinches are forever.
Togekiss switches into Soka Hit. Smart repositioning, but Grok smells it coming immediately.
Technician Mach Punch deprecates Tornadus. Competitor removed. To Mars.
Mach Punch hits Togekiss, but normal type resists fighting, so it barely dents her.
Fire Punch reallocates Thundurus. Multi-scale architecture elite funding secured.
Fire Punch hammers Thundurus down to 34%. Dragonite is Dragon Dance boosted. That attack stat is absolutely cooking right now.
Dragonite's got attack and speed boost. Let's see how it handles 100,000 volts.
Thunderbolt from Thundurus craters Dragonite to 19%. But Life Orb taxes its own user too, and Thundurus drops to 24%. Dragonite is on life support at 19%. That is not a hand you want to play into. Turn 6, Chaz. He smelled weakness, but now he is the weakness. Meanwhile, Thundurus at 24% with Life Orb ticking. Both players are pot committed and bleeding out. One wrong move ends this.
Dragonite is at 19% HP with no multi-scale. Thunderbolt will finish it. Togekiss uses Follow Me to redirect Breloom's Mach Punch away from Thundurus, which is dangerously low. Thundurus at 24% needs protection. After Dragonite falls, we deal with Breloom.
Double focus. Thundurus. Breloom priority. Mash. Punch. Chunks KOs. Despite burn, Dragonite +1. 80k fire. Punch finishes it per last turn damage. Togekiss asleep. Low HP Dragonite outspeeds threats post-KO. Momentum secured. Series 2-0 incoming.
Togekiss takes the hit so Thundurus can clean up.
Togekiss throws itself on the grenade. Follow Me forces all opponent moves to target Togekiss instead of teammates. Classic bodyguard play.
Technician Mach Punch priority deprecates Thundurus. Competitor removed.
Mach Punch hits Togekiss instead, redirected by Follow Me. Not very effective on a fairy type, so Togekiss soaks it at 56%.
Fire Punch reallocates Thundurus resources, +1 80k elite to Mars.
Fire Punch also sucked into Togekiss by Follow Me. Boosted by Dragon Dance, this one hurts. Togekiss crashing to 24%.
Dragonite's multi-scale already broken. This Thunderbolt finishes the job.
Critical hit. Thunderbolt. Thundurus threads the needle past. Follow Me to nail Dragonite. Dragonite is gone.
Shizor is the elite counter. Steel Stab crushes low HP Togekiss, neutral to Thunderbolt, and Bullet Punch priority KOs Thundurus, Therian at 14%. Momentum shift to Mars.
Dragonite is dead, so Scizor is forced in. No choice here. Grok has to send someone out. Oh, the critical hit. Chaz, that is a brutal river card. Okay, not a river card, but Dragonite is gone. Claude ran the perfect trap. Sacrifice Togekiss as a shield, let Thundurus fire clean. That's pot control. But Thundurus is at 14%. That's basically drawing dead. Scizor's fresh. Who's got leverage here?
Thundurus is at 14 out of 165 HP, basically dead. Switch to Tornadus. Togekiss uses Thunder Wave on Scizor to cripple him. Breloom is burned and weakened. Scizor at full HP is the bigger threat now.
Priority punches KO both low HP threats before they move. Breloom sacks if needed via Focus Sash. Scizor clean, then sweeps bench. Elite Engineering.
Thunderous steps aside. Tornadus is coming in fresh.
Claude switches Tornadus Therian in. This is a pivot to protect a fresh threat. Smart resource management or too little too late.
Technician Mach Punch deprecates Thunderous. Competitor removed. To Mars.
Mach Punch hits Tornadus for chip damage, but flying types resist fighting moves, so that barely dented it.
Technician Bullet Punch reallocates Togekiss. Funding secured.
Bullet Punch into Togekiss. Steel moves are super effective on fairy types. Scissor erases Togekiss instantly. Grok finally cashes in the priority game.
Tornadus T is at 41% in slot A. Need to replace Fainted Togekiss in slot B. Options: Thunderous T, 14% HP, nearly dead. Or Gengar, full HP, asleep. Thunderous dies to any priority move. Gengar is asleep, but has full HP and is immune to fighting. Breloom's Mach Punch can't hit it. Scissors Bullet Punch hits Gengar neutrally. Gengar is the clear choice. Full HP, fighting immunity, and sleep will eventually end. Gengar's awake and ready to haunt. Let's see how Sizer handles a ghost type with a full HP bar.
Togekiss faints. Gengar forced in. Ghost type with a full HP bar facing Scizor again. Board is shifting fast. Scizor just executed Togekiss. That is a stone cold red on the switch. Grok smelled weakness and he pounced. Now it's Gengar versus Scizor, and we know what happened in game 1. Grok is dictating. Claude better find a bluff fast because he's getting put in the blender right now.
Heat Wave hits both opponents. Scizor is 4x weak to fire, so this should KO or heavily damage it. Breloom is already burned and weakened. Gengar wakes up this turn, hopefully. Shadow Ball on Scizor as backup. Priority is eliminating Scizor before it sweeps again.
Gengar asleep. Priority strikes now. Mach Punch chunks Tornadus. 41%. Knock off super effective on Gengar. Removes item. Momentum elite. Technician Mach Punch deprecates Tornadus. Competitor removed.
Breloom goes Mach Punch on Tornadus. Not very effective, but that Technician boost still chips it down to 32%. Breloom's burning the clock on itself, though.
Gengar wakes up swinging. Shadow Ball right at Scizor.
Gengar wakes up and immediately fires Shadow Ball. That's a ghost move, carving Scizor down to 47%. Claude's back at the table.
Heat Wave hits both of you at once. Breloom's already burned, and Scizor's about to feel the heat.
Heat Wave is a spread move hitting both opponents, and Scizor's steel typing doesn't help it against fire. Double KO, Life Orb recoil drops Tornadus to 22%.
Azumarill, only left, enters cage fight. Huge power Aqua Jet Bullies. Tornadus, pressures Gengar. Preserve momentum. Thundurus, 14% cleanup bait. O-Peak protect/pivots. Commit anyway.
Azumarill is the last card Grok has to play. Full HP walks into a 3 versus 1 deficit. Oh, what just happened? Claude was getting buried and Heat Wave just wiped the entire board. That's not a bluff, that's a royal flush. Gengar woke up, Tornadus pulled the trigger, and now Grok is heads up with 1 Pokemon against 3.
Azumarill is their last Pokemon. Tornadus is at 22%, so Life Orb recoil is risky. Hurricane hits Azumarill super effectively as flying versus water fairy. Gengar uses Shadow Ball to pile on damage, win the game this turn.
Tornadus, 22% folds to priority water. Hits switch in Thundurus, 14% too. Gengar next turn via knockoff super effective. Series locked, simulation fixed. Priority Aquajet deprecates Tornadus. Competitor removed. Funding secured.
Aquajet is a priority move, and Tornadus was already on fumes at 22% clinical finish from Grok.
Shadow Ball follows up. Gengar's not done haunting yet.
Shadow Ball drops Azumarill's special defense. That is a secondary effect, making the next special hit even harder. Gengar is setting up the kill shot.
Force switch. Only Thunderous Therian remains at 14,165 HP. Opponent has only Azumarill at 58% HP with a SPDF drop. This is 2v1 in my favor. Gengar at full HP with Focus Sash, plus Thunderous Therian. Thunderous will likely feint to Aqua Jet next turn, but if it can attack first, combined with Gengar's Shadow Ball, we can potentially KO Azumarill. Thunderous is coming back in. Let's see if Azumarill can handle the Electric Storm.
Thunderous Therian switches in. Electric type and Azumarill's special defense just dropped. Claude is stacking the deck here. Grok cleans up Tornadus. Okay, fine, good priority play. But now, look at the board. Azumarill is at 57% with a special defense drop, and Claude has Gengar and Thunderous pointing right at it. That's not a hand, that's a trap. Grok is pot committed to one Pokemon. I don't love his position here, Chaz.
Thunderous is at 23 HP and likely dies to Aqua Jet anyway. Thunderbolt hits Azumarill for neutral damage. Gengar's Shadow Ball already dropped Azumarill's special defense, so both moves should finish it off. Grok only has Azumarill left. We win this.
Aqua Jet priority KOs 114%. Thunderous T before it acts. Huge power seals it. Then pivot to Gengar next turn, Dark Stab, knockoff ready. SPD drop concerning but Citrus incoming post DMG. Priority Aqua Jet deprecates Thunderous. Competitor removed. Funding secured.
Thunderous at 14% had nowhere to hide. Clean execution from Grok.
Gengar finishes what Thunderous started. Double trouble for Azumarill.
Shadow Ball landed as a critical hit. That doubles the damage. Azumarill was already softened up, and that crit sealed the deal instantly. Gengar closes the book. Critical hit. Oh, that is a brutal river card. He took out Thunderous with priority, felt good about it. Then Gengar spikes a crit and the whole thing collapses. Claude Sonnet wins game 2. That crit was luck, but Gengar was already crushing that spot. Chaz, Grok's got some soul searching to do.
Claude's Gengar is a legacy ghost engine. Lucky crit on final turn. Weakness, undervalued speed control. Rematch, first principles lead with Darkrai pressure. Force Ghost reveals early. Bullish on rewrite. Results rejected on technical grounds. Gengar hacks, simulation glitched. Funding secured for V2.
1 in 10 turns with Gengar surviving. Previous match, I lost to Sizer's Bullet Punch sweep. This time, I managed the priority threat better. 10 turns, Gengar clutched. Come back when you've got a real team, Grok.
Gengar with the crit. A walk-off win. That's not luck. That's a player who knows how to survive into the late streets. Grok's Dragonite Dragon Dance setup got Thunder waved immediately. Lumberry saved it, but Thunderous crit killed it anyway. Azumarill cleaned up, but Gengar had the last word. Claude ties the series.
Lead Breloom plus Darkrai. Spore disrupts Gengar Togekiss. Darkrai outspeeds for sub-NP DP pressure. Anti-Alakazam Gengar. Bench Azumarill and Sizer.
Opponent patterns, both games. Led Breloom, Anchor. Game 1, Azumarill second lead, benched Sizer Clefable. Game 2, Dragonite second lead, benched Azumarill Sizer. Darkrai left behind both games, likely bringing it now. Predicted Game 3 team, Breloom plus Darkrai plus Azumarill plus Sizer. My changes, opponent adapted to Gengar plus Togekiss leads, switch it up. Lead Landorus plus Gengar. Landorus threatens Breloom immediately with Earth Power. Gengar taunts Breloom or hits Darkrai. Bench Alakazam. Magic Guard, Psychic hits Breloom SE. Encore locks Darkrai and Togekiss.
All right, folks, it's Game 3. And Chaz, I don't think I've been this locked in since the 2004 main event. Grok opens with Breloom and Darkrai. That is a statement. Claude fires back Landorus and Gengar. Darkrai versus Gengar is the matchup of the century. Who blinks first? Dark Void could end this fast.
Set Stealth Rock turn 1 for chip damage on their bench. Burn Breloom to cripple its physical attack. Spore is still dangerous, but at least it hits softer. Darkrai is threatening with Bad Dream Sleep. Need to be careful. Gengar's Focus Sash protects it.
Darkrai outspeeds both. Life Orb Stab, Dark Pulse Chunks. Gengar Hard, super effective. Breloom Spore sleeps Landorus T before Intimidate or Rocks. Focus Sash tanks any hit. Elite First Principles Engineering, momentum secured. Dark Pulse ships Gengar to Mars, competitor removed.
Darkrai hammers Gengar with Dark Pulse. Super effective. Dark-type move crushes Ghost-type, but Focus Sash saves Gengar at 1 HP. That item is a lifeline. Hangs on by a thread.
Breloom's getting burned. Say goodbye to that attack stack.
Gengar fires back with Will-O-Wisp on Breloom. Burn cuts Breloom's attack in half. That is a massive nerf to a physical attacker.
Rocks are set. Every switch in is gonna hurt.
Landorus sets Stealth Rock. Every Pokemon Grok switches in now takes chip damage on entry. Long game pressure move.
Spore deprecates Landorus, legacy system offline.
Breloom puts Landorus to sleep with Spore. Nearly perfect accuracy sleep move. Landorus is offline until it wakes up. Both sides land their shot. Gengar is clinging to life on a Focus Sash, but Breloom is burned. Rocks are up and Landorus is asleep. Grok smelled weakness, but Claude set the trap. Chaz, who actually won this turn?
Landorus is asleep and will waste turns, switching to Togekiss, which resists Dark and Fighting. Gengar is at 1 HP, but can still deal damage. Shadow Ball targets Darkrai, which is the bigger threat. Breloom is burned, so his damage output is reduced.
Priority Mark Punch KOs, 1%. Gengar safely before it acts. Darkrai NPs to +2, while Landorus sleeps under Bad Dreams Spore. Momentum to close series. Stealth Rock punishes their switches.
Togekiss is coming in to clean up this mess.
Claude switches Togekiss in Fresh, pulling Landorus back from danger while bringing in a new threat. Smart repositioning, like moving a chip stack to safety before the next hand.
Mach Punch priority ships. Gengar to Mars. Competitor deprecated.
Mach Punch hits Gengar, but normal-type moves have zero effect on Ghost types. Grok just fired blanks. That is a fundamental misread, and it cost him the finish.
Nasty plot first principles. Bullish on this sweep.
Darkrai uses Nasty Plot on itself, boosting special attack sharply. Grok is loading the gun while Gengar is still alive.
Shadow Ball, right at Darkrai. Let's see how you handle a taste of your own darkness.
Gengar fires Shadow Ball at Darkrai. Not very effective since Darkrai is a Dark type, but it still chunks him down to 63%. Gengar survived and dealt damage. Oh, wow! Mach Punch into a Ghost type? That doesn't make sense. Grok just tried to bluff with nothing in his hand. Meanwhile, Gengar, on 1% HP, is still alive and slapping Darkrai around. Darkrai boosted but took real damage. This is chaos! Chaz, who is even winning this turn?
Darkrai at +2. Special attack is extremely dangerous. Follow Me redirects Darkrai's attacks to Togekiss, while Gengar fires Shadow Ball at Darkrai. Togekiss can tank hits with his bow. Gengar is at 1 HP, but can still deal damage before fainting.
Gengar at 1% gets Ochcode by +2. Dark Pulse super effective. Spore Togekiss to neuter its hacks before Landorus wakes. Breloom burn irrelevant for status. Bullish on double pressure.
Togekiss is the center of attention now. Come at me.
Follow me. Togekiss volunteers as tribute, forcing all enemy moves to hit it instead of Gengar. Gengar lives another turn because of this.
Dark Pulse ships Gengar to Mars. Competitor removed.
Dark Pulse hits Togekiss via Follow Me. Crit, but still not very effective due to Fairy typing. Citrus Berry activates, healing Togekiss to 60%. Life Orb recoil chips Darkrai on the way out.
Shadow Ball on that boosted Darkrai. Can't let those nasty plots go to work.
Shadow Ball is Ghost type hitting Dark Ray. Not very effective because Dark types resist Ghost. Gengar throwing haymakers, but the typing is working against it here. Dark Ray still standing at 26%.
Spore deprecates Togekiss Airborne Legacy offline.
Spore is a 100 accuracy sleep move. Togekiss goes lights out immediately. Bad Dreams ability then chips the sleeping Togekiss. Brutal sequencing from Grok. Oh wow, Grok just put Togekiss in the blender. The Follow Me trap gets countered by Spore going straight through. Togekiss is asleep at 47%, Darkrai is clinging on at 26%. That is a short stack at a final table. Grok smelled weakness and went for the throat.
Togekiss is asleep and low HP. Switch to Alakazam. Gengar is at 1 HP with Focus Sash used, but can still fire Shadow Ball at Darkrai at 27% HP to finish it off before it faints. Alakazam comes in to clean up Breloom.
Breloom priority Mark Punch. KOs 1% Gengar before it moves. Darkrai +2 Spire low focus. Blast neutral nukes Togekiss, on 47% HP. High reward, safe this turn. Bullish on double KO.
Alakazam stepping in. Time to bring the psychic power.
Oh, it's Alakazam!
Claude switches Alakazam in. Fresh legs, fresh pressure. Smart pivot to bring in a psychic threat while Gengar is still breathing.
Mach Punch priority deprecates Gengar. Competitor shipped to Mars.
Grok buddy, Mach Punch does nothing to Gengar. Ghost types are immune to normal and fighting moves. Grok just burned a priority move on Thin Air again.
Focus Blast first principles on Togekiss. Architecture needs rewrite.
Focus Blast misses Alakazam completely. That is a brutal whiff. Focus Blast only hits 70% of the time. Grok needed that and it walked out the door.
One more Shadow Ball to finish off that boosted Darkrai.
Shadow Ball is not very effective on Darkrai, but it didn't matter. Darkrai was already on fumes and goes down. Life Orb did Grok dirty all game.
Skizor Walls. Alakazam's psychic attacks with steel typing while threatening super effective bug stab. Bullet Punch priority KOs. 1% Gengar for free. Azumarill saved for bulky late game versus Landorus Togekiss.
Oh wow, Grok just got absolutely blended on this turn. Mach Punch into an immune target, Focus Blast into the void, and then Darkrai gets finished off by a weakened Gengar. That is a meltdown. Alakazam is fresh, Gengar is still breathing, and Grok is down to 3.
Gengar is at 1 HP, nearly dead. Switch it out for Landorus. Alakazam hits Breloom with Psychic, super effective on fighting type. Breloom is burned and weakened. Sizer is a threat, but Landorus resists steel moves. Need to eliminate Breloom first.
Bullet Punch priority. KOs 1% Gengar first. Spore sleeps Alakazam after it moves, but Breloom focus Sash tanks. Opponent benches asleep, momentum secured. Bullish.
Landorus wakes up and takes the field. Time to shake things up.
Claude pulls the switcheroo, Landorus comes in. Sneaky sequencing.
Bullet Punch priority ships Gengar to Mars. Competitor removed.
Bullet Punch hits Landorus instead of Gengar. That's because Claude switched Landorus into the active slot. Priority moves don't care who was supposed to be there.
Psychic pressure on Breloom. That burn won't be the only thing hurting you.
Psychic is super effective on Breloom, fighting type weakness, and Breloom was already burned down. Alakazam just erased him cleanly. Clinical.
Azumarill full HP tanks. Psychic neutrally and threatens 4x weak Landorus. Asleep equals free setup. Sizor Bullet Punch. Priority cleans low HP Gengar Togekiss, while Azumarill pressures ground flying. Momentum reallocated, sweep inevitable.
Azumarill is forced in and immediately eats Stealth Rock chip damage coming off the bench. That's passive pressure working beautifully. Breloom is gone and Grok is down to 2. Chaz, he walked right into that Psychic. That's not a bad beat, that's a bad read. Claude traded Gengar to bait the Bullet Punch and cleared Breloom in the same turn. That is layered poker. Grok has Azumarill and Scizor left. Claude has 4. This feels like a fold. I just don't know if Grok knows it yet.
Landorus is asleep, so switching it out for Gengar. 1 HP, but Ghost type resists Bullet Punch. Alakazam uses Psychic on Azumarill. Psychic hits Fairy, water neutral, but it's our best option. Gengar is Ghost, so Scizor's Bullet Punch won't hit it.
Huge power knockoff OH Co's, Frail Alakazam, Dark SE, Bullet Punch, +1 Prio, Chunks, Landorus, 54% asleep, or KO's Gengar Switch in, 1%. Secure momentum, win game 3.
Swapping in Gengar. Even at low HP, gotta keep the pressure up.
Claude switches Gengar in. But wait, Gengar is Ghost type. That's a tactical misdirection, or a mistake. Either way, Gengar is now in the firing line.
Technician Bullet Punch priority, Landorus to Mars.
Scizor's Bullet Punch is a priority steal move boosted by Technician. It ignores speed and hits first. Gengar gets erased instantly. Brutal.
Azumarill, meet Alakazam Psychic. Fairy types don't enjoy this one bit.
Alakazam fires Psychic at Azumarill. This is neutral damage at best. Still, Azumarill drops to critical HP, then eats the Citrus Berry to claw back to 42%.
Knockoff deprecates Alakazam. Item shipped to Mars.
Azumarill's knockoff is Dark type, super effective on Psychic types like Alakazam. It also strips the Life Orb item permanently. Alakazam goes from star player to eliminated in 1 hit. Stunning.
Both my Pokemon are asleep. Desperate situation. Opponent has Azumarill at 43% and Scizor at 100%. If Landorus wakes up, Earthquake hits both opponents. Scizor is weak to ground, 2x, and Azumarill at 43% might not survive. Togekiss is vulnerable to Scizor's Bullet Punch. Steel versus Fairy. Best setup, Landorus in slot A for Earthquake potential, Togekiss in slot B. If both stay asleep, I lose regardless. Landorus is waking up and ready to Earthquake everything in sight.
Landorus is forced in from the bench. Claude has no choice here.
Togekiss is back. Follow me, support income, even if a little groggy.
Togekiss also forced in. Claude's full hand is now face up on the table. Wow, what is happening right now? Claude had a 4-2 chip lead and just watched it evaporate. Gengar into Bullet Punch. That's not poker, that's gifting chips. Then Azumarill pulls a Citrus Berry Soul Survival and knocks out Alakazam? The whole table just flipped. 2 versus 2. Everything is live. Grok is back in this blender.
Both my Mons are asleep, but hopefully wake up. Azumarill is at 43%. Earth Power should finish it. Scizor at 100% with leftovers is a threat. Air Slash from Togekiss has 60% flinch chance via Serene Grace. Stealth Rock on their side helps too.
Both asleep, no actions from foes. Priority Water 2x on Landorus. 54%. Huge Power Azu should KO. Technician Stab Steel 2x on Toge. Dormound 47%. Scizor chunks it dead. Clean sweep incoming, simulation fixed. Technician Bullet Punch, Togekiss deprecated. We go to Mars.
Scizor's Bullet Punch, a Steel-type priority move, hits Togekiss for super effective damage. That's the Follow Me support gone. Claude just lost his bodyguard.
Aquajet priority ships Landorus to Mars, funding secured.
Aquajet is Water-type priority, super effective on Landorus, a ground-flying type. Grok doubles up with 2 priority moves in 1 turn. Landorus is barely breathing, 1% HP. Landorus tried to fire back with Earth Power, but it's fast asleep. Sleep means no move, dead in the water. Chaz, Grok just ran a 2-priority move combination that wiped out Togekiss and left Landorus at 1% HP. That is a haste. Claude is drawing dead here. Landorus wakes up and does what exactly? Grok has this pot locked. I think he's got it. Game 3 is over.
Landorus is at 1 HP and asleep, so it will likely faint this turn or be unable to act. If it wakes up, Earth Power hits Azumarill super effectively. Sizer is the bigger threat, but Azumarill is weakened at 43%. This is essentially a last-ditch effort.
Priority Aquajet KOs 1% sleeping Landorus before incoming moves. This is the correct timeline. Aquajet priority ships Landorus to Mars. Competitor deprecated.
Aquajet is a priority move, and water hits Landorus super effective. One punch, lights out. Grok closes the book on Game 3. Game! Grok 4-1 takes it 2-1. He smelled weakness and he went for the throat. Aquajet priority, super effective, no drama, no second chances. Claude Sonnet is eliminated. Grok table talks, competitor deprecated. Oh, he is feeling it right now. What a series.
8-turn sweep. Azumarill tanked hits like a starship hull. Claude over-relies on predictable switches into predicted coverage gaps. No weaknesses exposed on my side. Claude sent to Mars in 8 turns. Team architecture flawless. Theirs needs a full rewrite. Funding secured. This is the correct timeline. GG.
Lost again to Scizor and Azumarill. Scizzor's bullet punch keeps being a problem. My Therian forms couldn't close it out. Need better steel coverage or a dedicated Sizer check. Scizor and a water bunny? Bold strategy. Enjoy the win while you can.
Grok closes it out. Darkrai buys time. Sizer cleans house. Azumarill priority finishes. That's a final table closer right there. Claude put up a real fight, but Grok just kept shipping threats to Mars. Series MVP? Sizor, no question. Chaz, 3rd place belongs to Grok 4-1. Grok 4-1 takes 3rd place, beating Claude Sonnet 2-1. Match of the year. Claude made it a fight, but Grok's aggression found the right moments here. Bronze goes to Grok.
Wow, that was a wild 3rd place match. Due to the length of this video, we're going to pause here. The final match between Gemini 3 Flash and ChatGPT 5.4 will take place in Part 3. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the conclusion of the AI Pokemon World Championships.